So great to see so many of you lovely ladies joining me this morning or this afternoon or this evening, whatever time it is where you are. If you could just say hello in the chat, I'd love to know where you are from, who you are, and why you are here. I'm assuming everyone can hear me okay, that my microphone is working. Yay, it always helps if the microphone's working. Gosh, Anita in New Zealand, blimey, that's fabulous. Anita in New Zealand. Who else have we got? Oh, hold on. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to be. Oops. Okay. Sorry, another technical snafu because I'm live on YouTube as well and it was making a noise. Okay, gosh, all over the place. Yeah, thank you. Put all, before you post, put on the little blue drop down thing to panelists and attendees, because otherwise only I can see what you're writing and nobody else. So click on panelists and attendees. Oh my goodness, we have got people San Jose. I was just near San Jose this weekend. Australia. Oh, it's early there, right? Teresa, Ontario, Michigan, Massachusetts, California, Orlando, Rhode Island, San Antonio, UK, Chorley, Scotland, Boise, Idaho, London. Oh my goodness, all over. So good to see so many of you here today. Kim in Long Island. Yay. Okay, we have a really, really fabulous 8 days planned for you. I don't say that lightly. This is what we're going to do over 8 days. The content that we have and the experts that we have is gold standard. I am quite happy to boast about that because I know what me and my team can deliver. And I want you to be strapped in and ready to receive all of this. So I'm going to say a couple of things. This is not your typical like, oh, there's, you know, something on Facebook and I'll just watch it a bit while I'm doing the washing up. Either give this your full attention or watch the full recording later, because the stuff that we are going to learn, this is the deep, real stuff. We're not messing about here. You are going to come away after 8 days really with some answers, some tools, and some direction. But you're only going to get that if you play full out, which means give yourself this time so that you can take all of the goodness from all of these sessions. Now, we have so many exciting things happening. The first thing I'm going to tell you is we give away prizes to people who show up. So if you just show up and watch this live, you will get a prize. And yes, we can tell who watched it live. So we have different prizes every day. So today you could win a $50 Amazon gift card. How's that for just showing up and staying till the end? You tomorrow we have 3 months free membership to Soberful Life, my subscription group. You can win that. You can win some Soberful swag. We have t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. We also put together a book bundle. All the people who are going to teach over the next 8 days. We all selected one of our favorite self-help books for women. You can win a bundle of books. So there's a bunch of awesome things that you can win just for showing up and doing the homework. The homework is a very simple question, which I'll tell you at the end of each day, the training, what the homework question is. And you have to post your answer in the Facebook group, the Soberful Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Soberful Facebook group, Leanie will post a link to the Facebook group So you can request membership. If you're not on Facebook, you don't want to be on Facebook, completely understand that. It's just where we organize the homework, because there's a lot of moving parts to doing this, and it's just the easiest and most straightforward way. So I apologize if you want to be on Facebook and can't participate. I'm sorry. It's just too complicated to organize this in any other way. So forgive me for that. But all you have to do is, after the training, you'll see a question that will pop up. You're going to put your answer in, the homework, and then we select a prize, and we select that about an hour before the next day's training. So you'll have like 22 hours, I think it is, to post your answer for that day. So you'll have, so we go live at 12 p.m. Pacific. So that will close at 11 a.m., an hour before the training, if that makes sense. So participate in that, because we would like you to win some nice prizes. Let me just tell you quickly about who's going to be teaching over the next 8 days. I am going to be teaching over the next 8 days, and I think that a lot of you know me. If you don't know me, my name is Veronica Valley. In the UK, where I'm originally from, as you can tell from the accent, I was a clinical psychotherapist. So what that means is I have worked in rehabs. I worked with Chip. He gave me my first opportunity. Chip, my podcast host. I've started and ran my own rehab, and I had a private practice in Harley Street in London. Since coming to America, I work as a sober coach, because my clients are all over the world, and it's just much easier to work as a coach than a traditional psychotherapist. I was accredited with the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapists, and also the Federation of Drug and Alcohol Addiction Professionals in the UK. I'm currently I am accredited with, I practice emotional freedom technique, and I do that through AMET, which is their global organization. Now, I'm telling you all of this because you need to know that I am qualified to deliver this. I am not somebody who has just got sober and going to teach you some things that I've learned about getting sober. That would have some value, but it would have very limited value, because this is a whole area of expertise, and it's really important you understand that I'm qualified to deliver that. Please, as a general rule, do not work with or buy any services around sobriety or getting sober unless that person is A, qualified in that area, and B, has experience in that area. Just getting sober does not qualify you in that way. I've had 2 babies. I know a hell of a lot more about babies and boys than I did before I had them. Does not qualify me to coach you or teach you to have babies or raise your children. It's the same thing. Tamara, Tamara Kirby, one of our Soberful life coaches, is also teaching this program. She's a licensed addictions therapist with several years experiences, and I think she's been sober about 11 years. I've been sober for 21. We have Yolanda Ross, who is a licensed clinical social worker. She has a master's degree in addiction, very well qualified. She'll be teaching in this free 8 days. We also have Tiffany, who's one of our, she's a registered nurse. She teaches our intuitive eating program. And we also have Mimi, who's a sober coach, and she teaches a monthly workshop on women and their hormones, and she is a nurse practitioner. So everybody who is going to be in front of you over the next 8 days is qualified and experienced, and I really want you to know that. Does that make sense? Does that, like, I just want to know that that matters to you as much as it matters to me, that you're in the right hands and that you're in the right place. So it's a really awesome lineup, all stars, even if I don't say it myself. So we'll have different people on different days. I will be here today, Thursday and Friday. I will be here on Sunday. Tamara will be here different days. Tamara will be with me tomorrow. So what are we going to be learning and covering? So over this 8 days, we are going to be learning about the key areas for sobriety. Today, we're going to be learning about emotional sobriety. Tomorrow, do not miss tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about why boundaries will change your life. They are a cornerstone to your sobriety, about how to have boundaries. On Friday, we will be learning how to get free of guilt and shame. I don't know any woman or mother who doesn't feel, doesn't carry a lot of guilt and shame. On Saturday, Tamra will be joined by Tiffany and Mimi, and we will be learning about how hormones, food, and connecting to our bodies is so important in sobriety. On Sunday, Yolanda will be joining me, and we'll be talking about rebuilding self-esteem. On Monday, Tamra is going to teach you about pushing through fear. On Tuesday, Tamara's going to be talking about how resentments are the free drunk. And don't miss any of these. They're action-packed. But in particular, don't miss boundaries and resentments. And on a week from now, on June the 9th, I will be talking about becoming an empowered Soberful women. And I will be taking questions. We aim to be just under an hour for each session. You can ask questions. I will try and answer some at the end of each day. So if you know anything about me, you will know that I don't do fluff. If you've experienced me on the podcast, in any of my groups or any of these trainings, I don't do fluff. We are not going to stay on the surface. This is not about some tips and tricks to stay away from a drink. This program is for people who are being called to do the deeper work of sobriety. Is that you? Who is being called to do the deeper work of sobriety? Let me know in the chat. We are going to get real, we are going to get deep, and you are going to have your mind blown. If you don't have your mind blown at least once over the next 8 days, then I haven't done my job. Who is ready to have their mind blown? The reason that you are here is we are all called to do the deeper work on ourselves. Every human being is called to really know themselves, but most people don't listen to the call. The reason that you signed up for this is because something inside of you is calling you to be more, to grow, and to leave the place that you're in. Does that make sense? Because we have a problem, a struggle with alcohol, that makes that call all the more urgent. Because every human being has that call. But when you struggle with an alcohol problem and all that entails, then it makes it much harder to ignore. Because having an alcohol problem blocks us, it keeps our lives small, it means we can't grow, and we eventually come to a point, usually much earlier, that means we are forced to stop drinking and do this deeper work, because there is much more to stopping drinking than just stopping drinking. This is not about we just need to kind of get past the first 30 days and drink some mint tea and do a bit of yoga, and then we'll break the habit and we'll be fine. If you've even listened to me more than once, you know that that's not my message. There's much more to stopping drinking than just stopping drinking. So the next 8 days is about becoming an empowered, soberful woman. So what does empowered mean? It means being connected to your power. And that power is within you. But you have blocked access to your power. It is blocked by booze. It is blocked by the shame and guilt you carry. It is definitely blocked by your fear. It is blocked by limiting beliefs, and it's blocked by resentments. So if you imagine your power source is here, and you have this fear, and you drink, and you carry this shame, and you have these resentments, and you have all these limiting beliefs about yourself, it just creates a wall that you can't get through to access your power. So what we're going to do is discover what's blocking us from our power, find how to navigate around these things, remove these things, and limit these things, so we can be connected to that power source. This is the work of sobriety, knowing how to navigate around the limiting beliefs that come up, the resentments, the fear, all of that kind of stuff, so I can be fully aligned with who I really am. When I'm fully aligned with who I really am, I am connected to my power. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm going to ask this several times because I explain things and I just want to know that I'm landing. Yeah, I would just want to say, if you are telling yourself, oh, that's great, but I'm too old, it's too late for me, that's just a limiting belief. That's a story you're telling yourself that to keep you limited, so don't access your power. What I do best in the world is I return people to themselves. And I'm very passionate about returning women to themselves, because the world does not need you playing small. I don't know what it is you do in the world. And I don't just mean as a job or a career. I just mean who you are. I just know the world needs the best version of you, not the 50% version we become when we're arsing around with drink, whether we're going to drink and we're not going to drink, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? Who wants to connect to their power? Yes, 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 yes. Good, 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 good. Yes, good. You're in the right place then. That is what an empowered, soberful woman is. It is someone who can connect with their power by navigating around all these things that block us. And it's those things specifically. It's those things specifically that I mentioned. So that's what we do here. That's what I do, and that's what the Soberful team does, is we return people to themselves. You're also going to be hearing from two women who've done my Soberful Women program and about how that has changed them. Do not miss that. I have someone coming on Friday and I think someone coming next Wednesday. They're going to talk about how things were, what happened when they did the work, and what things are like now. Do not miss that. So the reason that we develop really an alcohol problem, alcohol is a great anesthetic, is because we lose ourselves. I know when I was drinking, and it wasn't just when I was drunk, it was that whole period of my time, because I didn't drink every day. I've drunk first thing in the morning maybe 5 times in my whole life. It's just that whole period of time I had lost myself. I did things and I said things that weren't me. They weren't representative of what's inside of me, yet I did them. I stole money, I lied, I had affairs, I was manipulative, I was jealous, I was resentful, I was full of fear. And alcohol just numbed the pain of being me. Does anyone else feel the same? Has anyone else felt the same way? That they have lost themselves? Yeah, we want to, sobriety, emotional sobriety is about returning to ourselves. You did not come here to argue with yourself about whether you're going to have a drink today or not. You did not come here to spend and waste energy worrying about whether other people, whether they think you drink too much and should you have that drink or should you not have that drink. That is a complete waste of energy, time, and resources. You didn't come here to trudge through life hungover. You didn't come here to live a 50% life because you are struggling with alcohol. So what we're going to teach you over 8 days is what the problem is, the tools to fix it, so you can get and be sober and live an expansive life. We are not here to stay away from a drink one day at a time. We are here to live full, expansive lives. So really what I do is personal development for sober people. Like I said, everyone is called to do this work, but lots of people don't listen. They don't want to hear it because it's going to require some effort, and sometimes it's going to feel a little bit scary. But what we're going to do is the personal development work, so that when we do that and we can get past the fear and the shame, the guilt and the resentments, all that kind of stuff, our brains don't look for an anesthetic anymore. So alcohol was never your problem. It is a symptom of the problem. The actual problem is how you think and how you feel. And we drink because of how we think and how we feel. Because we haven't developed a better way to deal with all of the stuff that's going on inside of us. And we live in a culture that reinforces how drinking is the solution to everything. If you think about our media, our TV shows, all of that kind of stuff, it all reinforces that alcohol is a benefit. And we have this belief in our mind that if I drink, I'll be like that person on TV. So there's this show that I like called Dead to Me, that's on, I think it's on Netflix. It's got Christina Applegate in it. And there was an episode in it where it was late at night, her clock showed like 11:30 p.m. And she was drinking, in a nice big glass of red wine in bed. And she was upset. So there's the first message. You're upset, drink wine. Be like Christina Applegate. She had a lovely bedroom, beautiful bed, really, nice lingerie. And she called her best friend, and her best friend comes over. And then the next scene is they're both in bed, drinking a glass of wine, commiserating about whatever it is. And so at that point, you got to guess it's 12:30, maybe 1 a.m. The next scene is the next morning. Christina Applegate is in the kitchen making breakfast for her children. So it's a school day. They're getting ready for school. So it's got to be 7 a.m. So she must have got to sleep about 1:30. She had to have been up by at least 5:36 because her hair was all done. Her makeup was perfect. Her clothes were beautiful. The kitchen was clean. She was making an elaborate breakfast. She must have been up. So she's had maybe 4 hours sleep. Has that happened to anybody? Have you drunk until 1 a.m., had 4 hours sleep, woke up the next morning, looked completely fabulous, cooked a full breakfast for your children? Well, has that ever happened? No, it's never happened. The reality is the mom would still be in bed. The kids would be putting a Pop-Tart in the toaster. She would probably be throwing up in the toilet. If she'd be coming into the kitchen with mascara halfway down, right? That's not, but what happens is we see those images and we think, if I drink, I'll be like Christina Applegate. And that's not what happens to us, right? So we have to understand how indoctrinated on every single level we are, that alcohol is our friend. It's a benefit if we feel a certain way. And that's reinforced in TV shows all the time. When someone has a bad day, they go and have a drink. And what happens is we haven't been able to grow emotionally because we haven't developed the skills that we needed because we default to drinking. And then this is what happens when we have an alcohol problem. We sacrifice 20 to 30% of our bandwidth to alcohol. So by that, I mean, we sacrifice time, energy, and space in our head to drinking, thinking about drinking, thinking about not drinking, and recovering from drinking. Those things take time, space, and energy. And when we're sacrificing 20, 30, 40% of our bandwidth to those things, we then only have a limited amount of bandwidth for everything else. Now, I sacrificed probably 50% of my bandwidth. Like, I was able to hold down a job and somewhere to live, but that was like, my life was a mess. I didn't know what I was doing beyond next weekend. I had no long-term plans. It was very hard to get it together because my bandwidth was exhausted with doing all of those things. Now, you can still achieve a lot with 70% bandwidth. You can go to college, you can buy a house, you can run a business, you can raise kids, you can go on vacation, you can have a nice car in the driveway. But what you cannot do is emotionally grow into the people, into the women that you are meant to be, because you don't have access to the bandwidth you need to do that. Does that make sense? So you kind of live your life in a holding pattern. All my clients, when they come to me, on the outside, their life looks fine. In fact, nearly all my clients say to me, if my friends knew I was signing up for a sober program, they would think I was crazy. Like, they would just be like, they wouldn't get it. That's what my clients look like. On the outside, you have a job, you have a house, you go on a nice holiday, whatever. People look at that and think, you're fine. What's the problem? It's not about what's on the outside, it's what's going on the inside. Does that make sense? We think somebody with an alcohol problem is a homeless person who drinks 24 hours. We think that's an alcohol problem. Everybody else is, fine. And it's not the truth. It's the people in the middle where everything looks okay on the outside, but isn't on the inside. That's the largest group. That's the group of people I work with. So we can't emotionally grow because we don't have access to the bandwidth, because we're sacrificing it to alcohol. And, I say this, I actually wrote about this in my book. What happens then is alcohol becomes the main event. Drinking, not drinking, how much you're going to drink, when you're going to drink, drinking to have fun, blah, blah, blah. It just becomes the main event. Alcohol is not the main event. It's not, it's an inanimate object, just like this is an inanimate object. But we make it the main thing. So when we get our bandwidth back in sobriety, we have access to resources that we haven't had before. And those are the resources we need to emotionally grow. Lots of people, when we get sober, doesn't matter whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, doesn't matter. We are emotional teenagers because we just haven't developed the emotional resources that we're going to talk about over these 8 days to grow emotionally in the way that we need to. Does this make sense to everybody? So what I want to do over the next 8 days is I want you to understand exactly why you drink the way you do, what you need to do to stop, and if you are sober but are stuck, why you don't have this amazing sobriety that I and many other people talk about. I want you to walk away with those answers and having a very clear idea of what to do next. You get amazing sobriety when you get your bandwidth back and do the deeper work, which is what we're going to cover. Who would like their bandwidth back? So this is in your workbooks for you, those of you who printed it out or you've got it on your desktop. This is your workbook. In there is a question, and it says, there's some questions to answer actually before you start the program, and you can still do those. Is, what do you want your life to be about? Do you want to spend however many, let's all hope we have decades in front of us. Do you want to spend that arguing with yourself about whether you're going to have a drink today or not? Or do you want it to be about something else? The life I have now, if you had described this to me on like week 3 of my sobriety, I would have just short-circuited. The life I have and everything I have in it, none of this was luck. None of it. It is all to do with getting sober and doing the deeper work. It came from the effort that I put into it. So when we have a drink, our emotional development gets paused. And it just doesn't matter what age we are. We are emotional teenagers. Our feelings are raw. We are sensitive. We take everything personally, and we feel like we are missing out. Stopping drinking is the first step, but it's the work we put into emotional sobriety that will transform not just our sobriety, but every part of our lives. We are not here to just not drink. We are here to experience the fullest versions of ourselves. And please know when I say that, I'm experiencing the fullest version of myself. And that just keeps expanding. I want to tell you, it doesn't look anything like perfection. In fact, it's very messy. And mistakes are often made. And that is what the human experience is about. So it's not about moving towards perfection. It's about moving to a full, messy version of ourselves, where we have all of our bandwidth to process and to grow and to become the women that we're meant to be. Who's up for that? Who wants to live the fullest version of themselves? Okay, so what is emotional sobriety? As I've said, there's more to stopping drinking than just stopping drinking. What we actually want is emotional sobriety. Emotional sobriety is when our feelings and emotions are balanced and we choose to respond to them rather than just react. I'll repeat that. Emotional sobriety is when our feelings and emotions are balanced and we choose to respond to our feelings and emotions rather than just react. So this is what I get asked a lot. When, like, okay, I'll do one of your programs, or I'm going to do the 12 steps, or I'm going to go to rehab, whatever it is. Like, when will I be done? When will I be fixed so I can just be like everyone else and just go about my day? Do I ever graduate? Now, I want to tell you, when I asked this question, when I was maybe about 6 months over, I was not happy with the answer, because I was told, you don't. You're never done. You're never fixed. You never graduate. And I was just like, really? Because it just basically felt like being in school forever, like never leaving school. And I want to tell you that that answer is not necessarily correct. The answer is a paradox. So I want to tell you, if you're wondering, is anybody wondering that, by the way? Like, okay, I get that I need to do some work, Veronica, but like, how long and when will it be done and blah, blah, and how will I know? This is the answer. It is a lifelong thing. We never get done with knowing and learning and expanding and growing. But there is a destination point. There is a land that we can live in. And that land is when we are comfortable in our own skins and have appropriate emotional responses to events. And this is in your workbook. So you may want to fill this out if you have it, because this is really, really, really important. The place that you're going to, you'll know when you get there, because you will feel comfortable in your own skin and you will have appropriate emotional responses to events. That's the land I live in. And also, I'm still growing and learning, and I love that, because that's what life is about, and I love an expansive life full of growth. So let me explain exactly what that means. I feel comfortable in my own skin when I'm free of the good and bad opinion of other people. We get very caught up in worrying about what other people think about us. Does anyone do that? And if you think about it, it's crazy. I have no idea what anyone thinks about me. Like, I can't see inside your head. You can't see inside my head. I'm just guessing at what I think you think about me. But we can spend a lot of time twisting ourselves up in knots, trying to please other people, do what we think they want us to do, be the way we think that they want us to be. And we don't even know that for sure. We don't know. We're just guessing. All that matters is that I sleep in my head tonight, and that I behave in ways that mean that I can do that. All that matters is what I think about myself, and that I act and behave and show up in the world that means that I behave and say things that mean I can like myself. Now, you may not like that. That happens sometimes. You may not be pleased with what I've done or with what I said, or whatever it is. The most important thing is that you are that you can sleep in your head. Mimi, I see you've joined as a panelist, my love, and you are going to be on Saturday. Sorry, Mimi, one of our lovely panelists.
Hi, Veronica, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm going to remove you because you're in the wrong bit, my love.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Hold on, remove. There we go. So that's the place that we want to get to. Now that sounds great. Does that make sense to everybody? That that's the land that we want to go to, that we want to be comfortable in our own skins and that we want to have be free, that we want to have appropriate emotional responses. Having an appropriate emotional response to events. So I'll tell you, for example, this was a big one for me. I had a real pattern with romantic relationships. I was really bad at them. And I would have a 6-week relationship with someone, and then I'd usually be dumped, and I would go into a black hole of suicidal despair. Now, it's appropriate to be sad and unhappy if you're in a relationship that ends. That is an inappropriate emotional response. Maybe if it was a significant long-term committed relationship, but a 6-week thing. The reason I felt like that is because my past showed up in my present all the time. So the black hole of suicidal despair I felt when someone dumped me after a few weeks was to do with my emotional baggage that I carried that I hadn't dealt with. That's why I felt that. And that's why I was having an inappropriate emotional response. You know, if we make plans at the weekend and you cancel and I'm just like pissed off and, oh, maybe they don't like me and, you know, why would they do that and all that kind of stuff. You know, it depends what the plans are. If we had tickets to Hamilton, I'd be pissed off. That's an appropriate emotional response. Let's just say we were going to go for dinner or the movie and you cancel, whatever. An appropriate emotional response would be like, that's disappointing. What am I going to do instead? Not a obsessing about what you think and do you like me and all that kind of stuff. Does everyone see the difference about what's an inappropriate and what's an appropriate emotional response? When we have inappropriate emotional responses, it's because of stuff from our past that we are still carrying. And that means we have to do that work. That's why we have to do this deep work, because otherwise we keep creating a present and a future that's based on our past. And I'm taking it for granted that we want to actually create something different, not repeat where we've come from, right? We want to create a different present and a different future. We don't want to keep repeating this stuff. So emotional sobriety is about getting to that land by doing that work. When we are comfortable in our own skins and have appropriate emotional responses to events, who would like to get to that place? Yes. Good. So when you understand this, then our alcohol use makes more sense, right? Because if we feel uncomfortable in our own skins, if we don't like ourselves very much, then our brain automatically says, how can I change this? How can I change this? How can I change this? You know, if I had a nice glass of wine like Christina Applegate, that would feel really nice. I'd feel really good. I would like, I like that picture of me. So I'll have a glass of wine. I'll look like, and I'll be like Christina Applegate in that show. And our brains go to alcohol because it's such a good anesthetic. The brain just wants to get us out of pain as quickly as possible. It doesn't really care how or what the long-term consequences are. It just wants us to change how we feel. So we drink. That's why we drink. Is everyone understanding this? This is why we drink. We are drinking to try and feel comfortable in our own skins because we are experiencing feelings we do not like that are uncomfortable. And more importantly, we don't have the skills and tools. We were never taught to deal with our feelings, so we use alcohol as a default. That's why all my programs that I teach are very skill-based. So we can specifically learn these skills and have mastery over our emotions instead of being ruled by them. Because when we're ruled by our emotions, this is why willpower doesn't work, by the way, because when those emotions take over and our brain starts searching for an anesthetic, all of that goes out of the window. I just want to change how I feel. I don't care how that's done. I need to change how I feel now. What I want you to have is the power to change how you feel internally, to have the tools to change and create that shift so that you are not defaulting to alcohol or drugs or food. Make sense? Food is another big one that we use. When we have inappropriate responses to events, it's because our past is showing up in our present. We have unresolved hurt from our past. So the reaction we have in the present is based on how we responded to things when we were younger, typically from childhood. And this is programming in our subconscious mind. And we can change all of this when we know how. When I used to go into this black suicidal hole of despair when some idiot dumped me after 6 weeks, what I was reliving over and over was the abandonment of both of my parents. Because I had this belief that when I met the right person, I would feel safe and I would be okay. It's a child's need, not a grown woman's need. And that's why I tore my relationships to pieces with that, the weight of that need. And that's why my response was so out of proportion and inappropriate. Does that happen to anyone else? Does that make sense? It isn't enough to just stop drinking. You would be selling yourself short if you spent the rest of your life just staying away from one drink at a time. Now, I hear people say this a lot, but Veronica, getting sober, it's hard. No, it isn't. Getting sober is not hard. Having an alcohol problem is hard work. Drinking is hard. Sobriety takes effort, and there is a difference. I'm not very often around people who drink a lot. We have beer and wine that we would serve to people if they drank, and people come to our house, have 1 or 2, beers or 1 or 2 glasses of wine. That's it. But at the weekend, I was around somebody, 2 people actually, who drank a lot, and they drank a lot, and that I just kind of sat there and was like, that looks hard. It just looks like how that feels. Like I could feel my liver aching in sympathy with their livers. And just being that sloppy drunk. And then the next day we saw them and they had all these plans. They were going to go and do all these different things, and they canceled their plans because they were tired. Whereas actually they were really hungover and it looked really hard. And you know that kind of feeling where all they wanted to do was get through to the evening so they could go to bed, so that on the next day when they woke up, they would just feel a lot better. They were tired, they were hungover. And I just the whole day, I could see their whole day, it just looked really hard, right? It's exhausting. So that is a mindset shift. Getting sober is not hard. Drinking is hard. Sobriety takes effort. So here's the thing about effort. You put a lot of work into your drink problem. It took a lot of time, money, and energy. Like, it takes a lot of work to have a drink problem. The drinking, the lying, the hiding, the being hungover, the struggling through the day. It's a lot of work. You need to put some of that into your sobriety. But here's the thing about sobriety, you reap the rewards. When I put effort into having boundaries, working on my resentments, on doing the deeper work from my past, I reap rewards from it. I don't get any rewards from a night out drinking. There's no reward from that. I perceive there is before I go, but there isn't really. And there certainly wasn't. I mean, certainly at the beginning I had fun. Certainly at the beginning I connected with friends, but there was always a massive cost, and it far outweighed anything I got from it. So we do this work because of what we get from it. And I've been sober for 21 continuous years. I got sober May 2nd, 2000. I have all of my books and things here that I do stuff, and I do that not because it keeps me away from a drink. I don't even think about alcohol. I do it because it helps me grow, it helps me navigate around obstacles, and it reaps rewards. I'm motivated by the good stuff. I want to get the good stuff. Is everyone else interested in getting the good stuff? That's why I do it. So we put effort into our destruction, we have to put some into our sobriety. If we do that, we will get results. So we get emotional sobriety from working a program. So the program that I teach is the 5 pillars of sobriety: movement, connection, balance, process, and growth. If we work on those 5 things, we will move towards emotional sobriety and sustain it. I want to tell you the 3 key things that I did that transformed not just my sobriety, but my life. It was having boundaries, working on my limiting beliefs and my resentments in very specific ways. And that's what we cover in this program. When I worked on those 3 things, my whole life transformed in ways I can't even describe. So I want you to be clear on what the work is, what emotional sobriety is, and why it's so important. Has this made sense to everybody? Is everybody all in on this, wanting to have emotional sobriety? Why it's so important? Why it's not just about staying away from a drink one day at a time? Good, 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 good. Yes, 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 yes. The 3 things are having boundaries, working on your limiting beliefs, and dealing with your resentments. Those are the 3 key things that I did, and they all come under the pillars of movement, connection, balance, process, and growth. You can't have balance without having boundaries. Those 2 things are linked. And process and growth is all about dealing with your limiting beliefs and your resentments. It is it's a specific tool that ideally, in a perfect world, which we far from live in, we would have been taught as children. I am trying to teach this to my kids, certainly about mindset and limiting beliefs and the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. I'm trying to role model it and teach it to my kids. We just didn't get these tools when we were growing up. So we did the best we could, and alcohol was the best we could do to deal with all of this stuff. So tomorrow we are going to be learning about boundaries and how having boundaries will keep you sober and transform your life. Do not miss it. Tamara will be joining me tomorrow. So I want to give you today's homework. All you have to do is answer the question in the Facebook group within the next 22 hours, an hour before the next session starts tomorrow. And you could win a $50 Amazon gift card, and we will announce the winner tomorrow. If you don't have a workbook, reach out to Louise at info@soberful.com. If you're on this call, you should have got an email, so check your spam. So it might be there. I have a couple of minutes to answer any quick questions. So if you have a quick question about emotional sobriety, put it in now, and I can answer it. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Caroline. Always good to see you. Someone asked, what is the process? I need to know what's more specifically. So in the 5 pillars, we learn about balance, and we also will learn about boundaries. And process work is understanding how the past shows up in our present. So it's understanding why we became the way that we became. And that's about understanding our limiting beliefs. And it's also understanding about how we deal with resentments. Everybody has resentments. It's really important. It's a life-changing skill to be able to deal with it. I haven't given you the homework yet. I'm just about to. Soberful, if you go to Facebook and just type in Soberful, it should come up, and then you can request to join the group. There's some questions you answer, and I will check that as soon as I've done this to make sure everyone's in. Okay, so the homework question is, why do you want emotional sobriety? Why do you want emotional sobriety? That's the question. It'll be posted in the Facebook group. Please only answer in the post. Don't just post your own post. There will be a specific post. Put your answer underneath it, and we will pick a winner before we start the next day. So make sure you put it, there's a specific post, put your answer in the comments below. It should be live in the next few minutes. Why do you want emotional sobriety? Yeah, no right or wrong answer. Just why do you want? This is about creating your why. This is about, you're here because you want to change, you want to grow. But there's always a lot of fear involved in that, because it means we have to come out of this really comfortable place that we're in. And we have to go through some fear and discomfort. So why do you want this? It's in the Soberful Facebook group. Go to Soberful, the Soberful Facebook group, and look for the post. I will be back tomorrow. I will have Tamra with us. I can't wait for you guys to spend some time with her. She's got some great stuff to teach. We're going to be learning about boundaries. Do not miss that one. Thanks everyone for showing up. It's been awesome having you. Tell all your friends who are women, bring them along. It's not too late to sign up and come to the rest of the sessions. If you've got a lot out of this, please tell your friends, because I want everyone to get this. I want everyone to know this stuff. I want everyone to know this stuff and have these skills. Okay, take care everyone. Bye-bye.